The first 2 games of the NFL season have not disappointed, and in this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about these NFL games that happen so you can stay in the know about football. Let's dive into Thursday Night Football's game of the Ravens versus the Chiefs. So looking at the Ravens, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, is it time to worry about Mark Andrews? And it's definitely way too early to tell. Mark Andrews had a lot of snaps, so he's still involved in the offense, but he definitely took a backseat to Likely, who really looked like a standout receiver in this Ravens offense. And going forward, I could potentially see Likely being one of the main targets for Lamar Jackson in this offense. Next up, let's look at Lamar Jackson, and my question is he ever really going to step up when it matters most in the clutch? So yes, obviously Lamar Jackson did fold in many's eyes on Thursday night's game. And, looking at his career, his stats are definitely a little bit lower passing-wise in the fourth quarter and overtime compared to the first 3 quarters. But if you look at his rushing volume, it's still about the same, and he's still, making the right decisions there. Looking at Thursday night's game, though, Lamar Jackson definitely missed a couple of throws on that last drive, especially the one throw where he had it to Zay Flowers wide open in the end zone, and he just threw it over his head. That definitely was something that was not ideal for him. But going forward, my main question is if he's going to be able to fix this. I honestly don't think it is, because Lamar Jackson, many people are forgetting that he led the team to the red zone at the end of that game, and he marched down the field, which is something that, the Ravens needed to have an opportunity to tie the game. So I think that Lamar Jackson is still developing. I mean, he's still pretty young in my opinion. I think that he's going to end up becoming a very good player in the clutch, but I think it's just taking some time for the Ravens. Lastly, I got some really harsh opinions on Derrick Henry here that I'm just going to slam on right now. So Derrick Henry just looks absolutely washed. I mean, he looks like a right tackle trying to run the ball. I definitely am mad because Henry definitely did underperform in terms of fantasy, and he is on one of my fantasy teams. I do think that he was unimpressive in his debut. His touchdown really saved his fantasy score. You look at the passing volume that Derrick Henry's getting, it's really none. The one target he had was like 5 yards behind him. Justice Hill's coming in, and he's getting all of those receptions, and he's kind of just vulturing all of Derrick Henry's potential yards for catching and receptions and all that. And it's really concerning because we don't know what this backfield's going to look like. It's kind of like every time Derrick Henry's in, it looks like they're either going to run the ball or they're going to throw it, and they're not throwing it to Derrick Henry. And this is concerning, especially for a 30-year-old running back who's going to be turning 31 in January. We see a lot of running backs that are turning 31. They have a very bad season compared to the season before. And so this is something that is definitely concerning and to keep an eye on for the rest of the season. Okay, let's go on to the winner of this game, who was the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's talk about Xavier Worthy. And my question here is he the real deal? And obviously he had a really good game on Thursday night, but my main question is, with Hollywood Brown coming back from that shoulder injury, how much does this affect Xavier Worthy's play? And they have similar roles on the team, and I am a Texas fan, so I'm definitely rooting for Xavier Worthy, but I think it's too early to mark him as a reliable receiver for Mahomes in this offense, because when Hollywood Brown comes back, I think that that's gonna tangle up his production and his reception targets, all of that. But I do really like Rashee Rice in this offense. I think that, he looks like 2019 Michael Thomas. He was just getting slants, But yeah, I think it's too early for Xavier Worthy right now, especially considering he's a rookie, but I think he has a lot of potential. Next, let's look at Travis Kelce and if he's actually washed. So, if you watched one of my videos I put out a few weeks ago, you guys know I'm very low on Travis Kelce this year, and it's mainly due to his age and the fact that Mahomes has, multiple threats now compared to last year where it was just Rashee Rice and Kadarius Toney who dropped the ball literally every time it was thrown to him. So I do think that Kelce is going to be a top 5 tight end this year, so if you have him in fantasy, do not worry. But he's definitely not going to be on the level that we expect him to be this year. I think that he's going to be falling off a little bit, but I think overall he's still going to be a solid tight end. And now let's go into the Friday night game of the Packers versus the Eagles, which was a very close battle where the Eagles snuck out barely. First, let's talk about if A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith are the perfect fit for Jalen Hurts. DeVonta Smith and A.J. Brown are undoubtedly one of the best wide receiver duo pairs in the NFL. They are the perfect fit for Jalen because, A.J. Brown is that big body receiver that Hurts needs to be consistent. And you got DeVonta Smith, who's got the lightning quick speed to stretch the field in the defense, and that's going to allow Jalen Hurts to rush and get more yards on the ground. And that rushing upside is really why people took Jalen Hurts as the QB2 overall in fantasy. I think A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith are going to continue to allow him to get those rushing yards, and I think they're just the perfect fit for Jalen Hurts. Next, let's look at the idea of if Saquon Barkley is going to lead the NFL in rushing yards this year. And, now I don't want to overreact to week 1 or anything that is happening, but I really do think that Saquon is in the best position of his career ever. And, you know, he's got a stellar offensive line. His offense is exceptional. He's got some of the best coaches in the NFL. And to me and a lot of people, I think it's definitely no surprise that he dominated last night. I think 3 touchdowns was definitely a little bit of a stretch compared to what I was thinking. You know, going into this game, I thought that Saquon Barkley was definitely going to be a top 5 rusher in the NFL. But after seeing the workload he got and the amount of production and efficiency that Saquon had and that he still has in his legs, I think that Saquon could be the leading rusher this year. And honestly, I think Saquon could possibly be the RB1 in fantasy this year. Next up, let's look at the losing team with the Green Bay Packers. So the Packers, there are definitely some goods and a lot of bads to talk about this game, especially that came later, which we're going to talk about right now with Jordan Love and seeing if he's okay. So as I'm currently recording this, Jordan Love ACL is intact, and he does have an MCL sprain, which we don't know how long it's going to keep him out, but he's going to be back this year for sure. And, you know, if he's going to be out for more than a couple weeks, then I think it's going to be really tough for this Packers team to stay in playoff contention because Jordan Love is their guy. He's their leader. Jordan Love was slinging the ball downfield last year with Jaydon being his main target, which we'll talk about in a second. But, you know, the Packers are going to have to trust Malik Willis, and I just don't think that Malik Willis can get the job done to lead the Packers to get, you know, however many wins they need to before Jordan Love comes back. And I think it's going to be really iffy for them to make the playoffs, but I guess we're going to have to see going forward. Now let's look at Jaydon and if he's the wide receiver 1 on the Packers. So I think that, you know, Jaydon definitely had himself a game. He had 171 total yards with 2 touchdowns, which is definitely not expected by anyone before this game or even watching this game as it was going on. You know, he looked like Jordan Love's main target downfield. He did not lead the team in total targets. I believe that was Romeo Doubs, but he was able to make big plays to help Jordan Love and, you know, make some really good catches, and he had that 133-yard run, which was amazing. And, you know, I'm definitely a little mad because I benched him in fantasy and I should have started him, but I think that it's definitely too early to say if he's the wide receiver 1 in this team, but if Jordan Love comes back soon, I think he could be the wide receiver 1. And honestly, we're going to have to see how Malik Willis is going to play with his receivers now. Looking at some extra notes I have, if you have Josh Jacobs in fantasy, do not worry about anything. He had all the volume you needed. He rushed 15 out of 21 times for the Packers. He was very efficient. I think he had 84 yards, and he had 2 receptions for 20 yards. I know he didn't get you a touchdown. He didn't really go off, but I wouldn't be worried. He's getting all the production he needs. He's running at the efficiency he needs to be a very solid running back in fantasy football, so I would not be worried about him at all. That wraps up my video for the In the Know about Thursday and Friday night's games. Let me know if you guys like this new type of video. I'm just trying to experiment, and if you do, make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys for watching this video. And I'll make sure to drop a video about Sunday's games and Monday Night Football, and as well as posting YouTube shorts about fantasy football. So yeah, make sure you guys keep in tune for all of that.